Hi, and welcome to the Search Buzz video recap. My name is Barry Schwartz. This is the May 8th edition. Today is Friday, the Search Buzz video recap. And again, my name is Barry Schwartz, and this video recap is sponsored by 7-Eleven. The Big Gulp, Terminator Salvation is playing in theaters, I think, tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. It's not sponsored by 7-Eleven. Just thought I'd add that. All right, so we'll get started right away, and stay tuned. All right, so we posted yesterday or the day before the official May 2009 Google Webmaster Report, which basically sums up the different things that have been going on over at Google Web Search. This is based on a Webmaster World thread, and people were kind of in an eerie state because they were worried that they haven't seen much shifting around going on at Google, but some other webmasters have noticed a major shift, or some way major shifts, but nothing really major at the scale of what people normally see. Tenster, the administrator over at Webmaster World, said he's also seeing more associative search results, meaning if you want to search for specific and precise types of searches using quotes or stuff like that, Google is being more broad and searching outside of that scope. And that obviously frustrates him and some of the more advanced searchers. I did see something in the Webmaster threads which talks about Google and the AND query and why certain queries are not working the way they used to. And Google said they'll look into it. If they have anything else to add, they'll add it. I'm waiting on a response from Google before I add anything about that. So we'll see, and maybe next week I'll report more about that. Other topics that were important this week were that Google replaces the comments bubble, which I'll get into later. I talked about last week how they're merging. They're merging maps and local data with other businesses, which is really annoying. We talked about in the past that Google's geo-targeting is a little bit off. Google's now doing the one-line site links, which you talked about in the past as well, and now you can verify your Google profile and get business cards for it. So those are the major things that are happening over at Google the past 3-4 weeks. And I wanted to give you an update on that. I ran a poll last week asking people, or the week before, asking people what if they're employed or not employed as search marketers. So I asked the search marketers out there, please take my poll, are you employed or are you not employed? And I gave 3 answers. One is, yes, I'm employed as an employee. The second answer is, I'm employed, but I'm self-employed. And the final answer is, no, I'm out of work. Now we have the response, and it looks like 7% say they're unemployed. So currently, I think they announced the unemployment rate in the U.S. today, actually, on May 8th, and the unemployment rate was 8.9%. Before that, it was 9%, so it's actually getting a little bit better, which is good. And to see an 8.9% versus a 7% unemployment rate in the search marketing industry does kind of show me that maybe the search marketing industry is weathering the recession a little bit better. At the same time, 65% of those people who said 65% said they are an employee of a company. 25% said they're self-employed, which is pretty interesting because I think the average self-employment rate of employed people is about 7%, I think, or maybe even closer to, what was the number? I think actually closer to, so I think it's about 7% or so, or 8%. I forgot what the exact number is, but it's not close to 25%. Obviously, in the search marketing industry, it's easier to go ahead and be self-employed and work for yourself in this industry because all you need is really a computer and know some HTML to do things. But it was pretty interesting to see that. So maybe a lot of people were unemployed, decided to start working for themselves, so they're not getting that unemployment check. Anyway, we did an unofficial survey. It's not like a Census Bureau type of survey. It was just polling about 400 respondents, and about 7% of those people said they're unemployed now. Hopefully that will turn around as the economy gets better. So hopefully. On May 7th, yesterday, I posted about how Google Maps could seriously have an impact on your business. So we discussed in the past on Google Maps, there's a way to actually close down somebody's business, to place a place closed listing on a business listing in Google Local or Google Maps. And we also discussed last week how Google's actually starting to merge one business listing with another business listing, and one business listing will take over the other business listing. Meaning, if you're a hotel and there's a hotel right next to you, sometimes Google might say, all right, your hotel is really part of this hotel, and they'll merge your data into that major hotel, that other hotel, and then you'll be left without a listing. So that obviously is a major issue. But this week we also covered how when you do a web search for signs Buckhead, Google goes ahead and thinks that's really signs Bankhead. and that's reducing business for one sign designer, signage creator, who sells signs in Buckhead, where people are looking for his business, but yet they're going to Bankhead instead. So clearly, Google Maps has grown. It's not the largest mapping engine out there, according to ComScore or Hitwise. They just released, but it's up there, really up there. A lot of people use it, especially with Google Universal Results. And when you do a search for signs Buckhead, obviously people want signs in the location of Buckhead, not Bankhead. So that's one other reason why Google Maps has been seriously hurting businesses, along with closing down your competitors, as well as this merging maps issue, which is still an issue today. This week, Twitter is the biggest thing out there. I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at RustyBrick, RustyBrick, twitter.com/RustyBrick. But there's lots of people on Twitter. It's the biggest craze right now. And Twitter is hiring a lot of Googlers. And one of the people they hired was the former VP of search quality at Google. And that person was interviewed by News.com reporter. And that News.com reporter uncovered that Twitter is actually working on a better algorithm, search algorithm, that is. Right now, Twitter search only shows you the most recent searches based on the text. So if you want to see the most recent news with Gmail, like this morning Gmail was down, all you do is type in Gmail and it shows you the latest tweets with the word Gmail as a match. The problem is a lot of people are duplicating that stuff. You have a lot of people saying the same thing over and over again, retweets. You have a lot of these retweets and stuff like that. So it's not the best in terms of relevancy and accuracy. So what they want to do is analyze if people put links in their tweets. They want to go ahead and crawl those links and see what they're talking about to make a more relevant search result in Twitter search. In addition, they want to go ahead and add some reputation factor where they look at the person's reputation, I guess number of followers or whatever it might be, to rank one Twitter user over another. Also, they want to integrate the hot trends that are going on Twitter and use that also towards the algorithm. So it would be interesting to see how Twitter search evolves over the next few years. Obviously, this might make some type of an impact on Google, maybe not, but we'll see. Since we're on the topic of other search engines, Wolfram Alpha is like the major thing right now going on. It's the next Google, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's loving it. I saw a demo of it the other day, and Danny wrote a long article at Search Land. He's calling this a fact engine, and that's what really it is. You do a search for, anything from census data, geographic, medical terms, whatever it might be, scientific, math, whatever it might be. They have tons and tons of data, and they go ahead and compile that data and display that data in a search result that is beyond anything that I've seen before in search. I know there's lots of search engines that there's some search engines that try to do this, especially in the scientific and the academic realm. There's something called BioNumbers, which is an Israeli-based professor who's trying to do that, which basically translate what this different biological numbers mean. So if you type in, 18 meters, what does that translate into? Or if you type in the amount of carbon required to do XYZ, it tells you what it is. That's what Wolfram Alpha is actually doing. It's doing that on a really large scale. And it's pretty impressive. I've never seen anything like it at this scale. It's not a competitor to Google. It definitely complements Google. Because Google is a search engine, it indexes the web. This is really gathering data sources. It compiles lots of different data sources. They're all data sources. They're not crawls from the web. They're actually compiled, and it's not really it's a structured set of data. And that's what makes it different from Google. Obviously, Google does do structured data the same day they announced their public data distribution. But this is way beyond what Google is doing in structured data. So it should be very interesting to see. It should be launching sometime in May. Last night, they did some type of Flickr test where they launched it and took it down quickly. They said they're doing some load testing. I'm not sure. But it will be very interesting to go ahead and play with this. I can't wait to personally play with it. It looks like it's going to be a very, very valuable resource to searchers that complements Google incredibly. Google Ad Platter is a very, very incredible resource. It basically tells you, it was launched a long time ago. Let me tell you the exact date it was launched. It was launched, June 2008. It basically tells you what the actual traffic is for a certain website. It tells you the demographics, male versus female, tells you how much their income levels are, tells you the type of site it is, it tells you what type of ad formats they provide, tells you the unique visitors and the page views the site gets, and it's obviously not exact, but it does a very, very good job of doing so. So that was launched a while ago. Now Google Ad Platter launched a publisher center, which allows publishers to go in there, validate their sites either through Webmaster Tools or through DoubleClick's Media Visitor. I'm not sure how that works, but it works. And once you verify your site, you can go in there and edit your information. You can edit information like your site thumbnail. You can change your site description to write whatever you want about your site. You can input an advertising URL so people can learn about advertising. You can add up to 5 categories of what, meaning does this site belong under the search engine optimization field? Does it belong under marketing? Does it belong under business or whatever it might be? Do you accept advertising? What type of banner placements are there? What type of creative formats do you accept? The size of the banners do you accept? And it goes through the different, shared Google Analytics data. Do you want to share your analytics data or not? So it's pretty interesting to see. There's a lot of details here. I have a detailed post with screenshots showing the actual details of it. If you want to take a look at that, it's on May 6th, 2009 at Search Engine Roundtable. Google continues testing. In the search results, they used to have this little bubble comment-looking icon, which allowed people, especially with the launch of Search Wiki, they wanted people to add comments to sites that they've seen for notes. So people, I guess, were not adding comments, and now they're testing a text link that says review this site. So right after where it says cache and similar pages, there's a little link that says review this site. It doesn't come up in all browsers. Some people are still seeing the little comment bubble. Some people are seeing the review the site link. I see the review the site link in Firefox or Mac, but I see the comment bubble in Safari for Mac. So a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago, Matt Cutts went ahead and changed his blog to from mattcutts.com to dullest.com, DULLEST.com. What he did was set up a 302, not a 301, but a 302 temporary, not a permanent, a temporary redirect from mattcutts.com/blog to dullest.com/blog. Clearly, Matt's playing with things, testing things, seeing how Google handles this. It's pretty interesting. A lot of comments about why there's so much duplicate content between the two. Google's handling it wrong, people complaining, but that's exactly Matt's purpose. He wants to see how Google is handling this so that he could actually go ahead and take this feedback back to his own people and then go ahead and maybe make for a better search engine and how they handle 302s versus 301s. It's pretty interesting. I can't wait to see if there's any posts from Matt about this. I guess we'll see in the future. I have a post about this today on May 8th. A new thing we found in terms of the adult content porn industry type of thing is that iGoogle is a very famous, a lot of people like using iGoogle, and they can add these Google gadgets to their iGoogle homepage. One of the gadgets they could add, there's a lot of gadgets they could add, is they could add a Babe of the Day gadget. And this Babe of the Day gadget turned out to be pornography. There's a lot of people complaining about this at the Google Web Search Help Forum. We found several examples of Google gadgets that are actually pornographic. Google has removed them. But we have screenshots of showing this in action. I don't think they're still alive today. It has been removed. Most of these gadgets, hopefully people won't create new ones. These are third-party gadgets that people create for people to add to their homepage. But Google does not allow certain things like nudity or pornography. Google has allowed this, and hopefully they have removed these. Hopefully it won't be an issue going forward. Finally, Google Checkout, which has been free or there's been less fees for certain advertisers, is now starting to charge. As of May 5th, they're starting to charge a fee. The fees are, let me break them down for you. If you're making monthly sales through Google Checkout of $3,000 or less, Google will charge you 2.9% of the transaction, as well as 30 cents per transaction. In addition, if you're making $3,000 to $10,000, 2.5%, 30 cents per transaction. $10,000 to almost to $100,000, 2.2% and 30 cents per transaction, and $100,000 or more, they're going to charge you 1.9% and 30 cents per transaction. Previously, it used to be used to be free if you had sales up to 10% times of your Google AdWords spend, but if it was excess to that, they would charge you 2% and 20 cents per transaction. So it's up a lot from there. It's down for some merchants that make over $100,000 per month from Google Checkout, but mostly it's going to be up for a lot of advertisers and a lot of e-commerce people. If you want more information about this, May 5th at the Search Engine Roundtable. Thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name is Barry Schwartz. This is the May 8th edition. Today is Friday. And tune in next week for the next week's Search Buzz video recap. Again, this is the news that we covered the past week over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you guys next week.